Hello, this is J.N.S with Nakhti University, and today we are covering one of the set songs that I did a couple of days ago. And so we're going to be talking about like what it means if we have to start from scratch in terms of like ground zero. Like if worst case scenario in terms of community and shuttering of certain dimensional collapses, what does that look like? And so we're going to talk about strengths and beliefs and how the inevitable will happen. We're going to talk about what it means to have to sink or swim on your own and how we won't be able to hide behind other groups of people and whatnot. And then we're going to also get in a little bit into military science. Now, I do have to say, I want to check my sound on here. This was, okay, so it is pre-recorded. Um, so right now I'm live though, but I'm going to play the actual recording. And let me see, I just want to make sure that this is playing correctly on Rumble because I am on there and they just switched what's it called? What do they switched their studio outlay. You know, they just changed the whole thing, and so they're going to be phasing out their legacy studio for live streams. And so I'm just now getting used to the new version, and it's okay, I have to say. But I personally didn't see anything wrong with the old version. I kind of like the old version. But nonetheless, I am going to start to play the set song. And set song just means like a stream of consciousness, like something that's just on a rip. And so this was me just literally on a rip. It was nothing planned and have no notes out, just nothing. I was just going off the dome. And so that's why I like to call it set song because it's it's raw. You know, it is very raw. So okay, there we go. And so I presume that this would be the stream thing. Okay, cool. Okay, so we're good on Rumble, I suppose. Now, oh, here, now, there. Okay, and so what I'm gonna do is play this video or the set song, and it's deep. We get into military science of Iran and versus American values in terms of warfare strategy and why in 47 years was it presidents historically been dissuaded not to take certain actions in certain areas as far as a uh, chief of staff in military and generals and whatnot. And so I'm not going to be giving out anything that's a threat to national security, obviously. So it's not going to be like on that type of level. I am aware enough to to not just be going ham, you know, at this time. So we're just going to be saying stuff that is permissible. I'll say that. But I do want to talk about like, well, what would it look like to start from scratch in terms of our strengths, particularly after Reconstruction period. So this may be like kind of boring to some people, but at the same time, I'm not gonna hold you. It's low key important. It's low key important for those that are aware of what is going on, not just on the surface level, not just because you're looking at the news and stuff, but definitely for those that is paying attention to more the spiritual aspects of what's going on, the signs of the times, dimensional collapses, the esoteric aspects of what's taking place, the fake news, what's fake, what's not, the codes, all of that. So for those that got a little more awareness of what could potentially happen, you know, in terms of the situation that we find ourselves in, even as America, you know, attempted coups and nations within nations and all these things. And so we're gonna get into that. It may make people a little uncomfortable, but this is a high level conversation, I'll have to say. It is high level. So let me play this. I want to keep talking so much, and we're just gonna start it now. They said it. If you read some of these books, about the pace in which Negroes can produce and invent, and under the conditions in which they can, it will be very quick, even if we had to start from ground zero, from nothing. Even if someone said, "Here, take a pack of seeds and go on your merry way and leave with nothing but the shoes and clothes on your back and feet."
within 10 years, someone that is Negro would invent something, not someone, multiple someones. And you can see that just like that. There was a recent case of a dude building up a vertical hydroponic system that he invented because he was in a city and their zoning laws and they had limited space. So he invented a way to build up vertical through a new hydroponic system. It's not that hydroponics is new; it's a relatively old science, and then it actually um, Mount Bayou, which was a city that had to build on swampland, used hydroponics because the land didn't have soil, and it was given to a Negro town, and so they decided to build Mount Bayou on the swamp, but they use hydroponics for their farming techniques so that they can have food. So I say this to say that the inevitable will happen, and people have to build from that space of confidence, no matter how broken we are as a people. But also, they have to know that they don't need anything from others that's not already that they don't already have within themselves. Secondly, they have to be willing to fight to gatekeep what they have inside of themselves and what God gave them. And then three, they have to be willing to die if they are attacked in their quest for what is a God-given universal right of ascension, sovereignty, and being under the will of the Most High, living in tune.
And I'm gonna stop this because I want to say, like, for those say like, okay, we need a blueprint. We need a blueprint. Um, we have that. I don't like to say I have that, but I'm saying we have that. And so there's a concerted effort. Um, this is intricate. What the situation that's happening is very intricate because people were betting and bidding and gambling on a system, thinking that it would be forever. A system that they don't even, it's like even if they extend what you perceive to be a seat at the table, they don't even like us. And so at any moment they can just push a button and it's over anyways, just if they can't even control you. And so obviously I'm a woman, but it's like when you think about the lack of preparation that this community has if something was to shutter, I'm aware of that. That's why since 2022 I've been coming up with all those blueprints. And the people that saying, okay, well, what are we gonna do? They know that they pretty much was in on going against me, whether that be selling me out or selling the community out. And totally selling the community out and taking that bag from that particular group of people and thinking that it will be all good and nobody would discover it, at least for in the next 50 years. So that's why they kind of dumbfounded. That's why they keep saying I just want the community to realize that when you hear people say, we don't have any blueprints, we don't have any blueprints. When you have a blueprint about technology, defense, a QM defense, a GIA military science apparatus, um, there's, matter of fact, let me just really quickly, because I don't want to belabor that. But when you say that there is no blueprint, there's a but first let's start with a governance. Let's start with. I'm just going to briefly. Let me just time it. Okay, I got five. I'm gonna go through this in 5 minutes. This is governance and affairs. Now this can be scaled up and down. Now this is just a governance infrastructure right here. But then you go. So you see these things, the predicate, the prerequisite to what the preliminary governance structure is. And so you can see that there's a whole book on this. So it's not like, okay, it's just one page of this. How can we possibly, there's literally an entire book on this. That's probably close to, probably 150 pages. Let me see, is the book on? And that book was parts of that book is freely available to governance and civic affairs. Okay, so you see that there's a governance structure laid out. That's just one aspect with councils and checks and balances, committees, voting style terms, and all that stuff. Okay, and then you go here. This is a social libertarianism system. Now we talked about again. This is all outlined. Now I do have to say there's a three-tiered system when it comes to economy, invention, research, and development department. That will be major, and then research options and capital department. But this is three tiers. So you have the barter, you'll have markets still to an extent, but that would be more towards youth, kind of, like like what you see now today, the stock market, that wouldn't be something that an old ass adult would be taking serious. Like that would be something that kids play around with, like tokens, and that's something the youth would be playing around with and saving up their pennies and invest just playing around with something pretty much. It wouldn't be um serious. And then you have resources, options, and capital department. So then this is where you have your barter-based economic innovations, your physical offline currencies, and then your land anchored value structures, and then decentralized digital tokenization layers. This is the part where that's more so for like kids who like to game. And it's not gambling. Though. We don't promote gambling. And the reason why it's tiered like that, just in case internet or infrastructure shutdowns, market destabilizations, liquidity collapse, supply chains disruptions, and any sort of natural disasters such as drought or environmental shock. So this program is developed with safety bills in mind. And this is just the stuff that's online. Obviously, the physical currency aspect is already created offline, but I would like some help with the denomination aspect and so there's some stuff that I can't discuss right now, but that's offline. And there's a couple of things. The barter app that could be online. It's hybrid though. I also developed an offline um gig economy that it removes, and this is why they like if you notice when I posted that up on Twitter, that's when my account got removed. And that's when I hurried up and try to push, someone else out in my image. But that's when we were discussing off, and it's still you could still find this information. It's an offline version of how you would run, say, Uber, how you would run Airbnb, how would you run USPS or DoorDash by removing CEOs and bureaucracy but running it at the zoning level of districts and then reiterating it from state to state. That's been crafted out. It's offline. There's also analog versions of this just in case I get completely white, if something to take everything offline. I actually have analog versions of that framework. So when people say that, especially, you see these black guys that are like Trumpers and stuff, when you see them moving like that, I just want y'all to know that that's to undermine me. That's definitely to do that. And they took a bag already, and they now they have to kind of sit in what they've done. And this token stuff, the AFES, not the University AFES token. Um, and there's a lot of people that have their thoughts about Bitcoin and whatnot. I have my thoughts about Bitcoin because it's not fully developed, and it's very obvious to me that it's not developed. And so, um, I'm not developing Bitcoin for free online. That would be stupid, right? So we know what are the limitations of the current Bitcoin system, and so we just keep that. It's just like, and I don't think that the way that they have their current infrastructure and that current system, because it cannot be cleansed and it is not irredeemable. Um, there are forces that are preventing the proper development of Bitcoin as it is. I'll just say that, and it's not me, but there's other forces that won't allow it. Pretty much, based on what they're trying to do with the planet, and based on the direction that you're trying to take the planet in. Okay, and so obviously you have not these services. You know, this is when they say there's nobody that has developed anything. They were the same people that was paid to do what they're doing, acting like, oh, we don't know what's going on. So there is your education, and then also how you revamp the Department of Education, the entire Department of Education. I've already there's a section of my composition notebook already crafted that out. Again, it's not online. I can't put that stuff online. You know what I mean? Not at this time. I'm not saying it can't ever be revealed. I'm just saying not at this time. That's not smart. But how to redo the entire Department of Education, That's already been thought out. Obviously, in the blueprints of the books, there is apparatus for spirituality, Center for Sexual Health and Family Planning, your think tanks, your military science departments, your governance and civic affairs, your liberation economy, humanities and creative studies, obviously esoteric politics, your Black American Research, Cultural and Policy Center, your community centers, your music departments, your invention and art. This would be most important. I'm not gold. Invention R&D and department. I'm saying when it comes to Negroes, and then music studies would also be second probably, and then your research options. And when I say research options, I'm really will be talking about some of that land procurement, but also agriculture. More so things that are nature based. I'm not going to hold you. That would be really important to me too. And again, we thought about some of these things with full, even languages that are very cryptic that would require understanding of certain symbols and certain knowledge bases that are hieroglyphics essentially, that are pictographs, ideograms. This is what we have to get into. You can speak it and nobody knows you. They can see the symbols and nobody can decode it, that type of thing. And so we know there's things out here for people to just act like, and then obviously this is some of the more smaller stuff like a Haven Housing Grant, Student Freedom Program. That's up and running after all the whole thing is. That's something that then Nakhti Queen Mothership Gala and whatnot. And then think tank projects, consultation, and the GI military science would also be very important too. If you build something, you have to protect it. And so that is the military strategic command of the Nakhti Order governance. Okay. And so you see some of the purposes there. It is an intelligence agency, but also the QM defense. And you can see some of this is the book of the governance model, the entire book. But then you have the QM defense. That's more so like what the military is now. But if we put in all of the military under that branch, the Army, Space Force, Air Force, National Guard, U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs. Who else is missing? Navy. Why is Navy not on there? Oh, because I didn't get a signal from them. Maybe I'll get that signal, but I definitely got one from the Army, Air Force, National Guard, the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs. I was waiting for a signal from the Navy. I think that's why I didn't put them up there. When they give me a signal, I will definitely put them up there. Okay, and then we have the strategic national defense and emergency response coordination. Okay, and so these are all things because it's not about like setting up imperialism 2.0, colonialism 2.0, and whatnot. This is like, let's say if Negroes had to start from scratch, everything just boom gone. Like, what would we do? These are questions I have asked myself. You know, this is just an example of military science, but um, there's a lot. There's a lot going on, and so this is not for everybody. We're not trying to force this framework on everybody or this blueprint, but this is just one of them. There is what's the there is the enterprise architecture framework too. Architecture. Now that's more for on a smaller level, right? Like more so like intentional community level. And that was called Queen Mothership Part 2, but it's very cultural based. You can see that right here. This is 3 years old. Okay. And when you look at some of the things that's discussed in here, it's governance, it's councils and elections, economics, culture, education, fusion power, antimatter, renewable energy, collaboration, procuring water, co-ops for food, childcare, and more housing, materials, intelligence gathering, prevention against chaos agents, models for technology, and message to Black men. So when they say land acquisition, there's land acquisition, land conservation, spiritual development. So when they say that there's like no blueprints, it's it's because they didn't come up with it, and it's because they were the ones that was in on taking that bag to do what they did. And trusted melanism framework is also a blueprint um, for working with international and foreign policy. That's that. So again, the people that roll wherever I'm at, I'll just say this, and I don't care about people's race, religion, gender, and color. I already know I'm been past that. We just know that from my lineage, I developed these frameworks from my lineage from that point of view of ancestral epigenetics and ancestral intelligence and knowledge. But I'll say this: I don't have to force anything on anyone. If something was to happen, wherever I'm at, we'll be good. And I have that faith and that belief. It's not about we can't save the world. We can't save these people. Yeah, a lot of people are going to perish. They say it, people perish for lack of knowledge. I heard a dude say, "Oh my gosh, if something happens, so many people are going." Um, um, yeah, it says that people perish for lack of knowledge. But I'll say whatever neighborhood my black ass is at, no matter what neighborhood that's in, if something was to go to complete horse crap, and I'm not getting activated until then. I'm only operating about 7%. Okay, God tell me all the time, you only get at about 7% activation. But I will not get like I don't see the reason to. I'm a chill. I'm not stressed out about this system or this matrix. It's not real. So I'm not panicking. Oh, what's gonna happen if I don't? It is what it is. If something is to happen, then you have to use your calm mind, sound mind, your God-given intelligence, and move from there. Yeah, they just be calm and keep your inner peace. And wherever I'm at, people gonna run around like chickens with their heads cut off. That's on them. But a small little team, I don't care if it's just a couple of neighbors or a couple of family members that will be good. But we have to put our minds together. We have to work together. That's all it really what it's about. And we have low trust societies, and so the low trust societies is what have to be dealt with. You got a lot of grifters, you got a lot of weirdos around, so you have to just be careful. But if people can work together, if people could develop trust, even when stuff shutters, even if you don't even really care, just a lot of I'm an introvert, so I don't even like a lot of people all in my space. But if you have to communicate just to get something done and talk and share ideas and share, and come up with a plan of how you can aggregate and scale what you already have and protect what you already have and make sure that things are orderly and organized. Wherever I'm at, that's going to be done. That I know. Even if it's just I have to do it just for myself because everybody is just all panicky and crazy, at the very least. But um, it's nothing to worry about. And so I'll get back to this because what's important is people believing in themselves. So this is not a video to kind of like bash, like, oh, look what y'all pizza. I'm not, and this is not that type of a video, but um, it's more to give the youth encouragement in particular. I know I don't, they say, they shudder, they do the shadow ban or whatever, but like Gen Zs, alphas, millennials, like millennials, we tired. I'm not gonna hold you. We've been exhausted. We did everything by the book, everything right, and there's not much incentive, and so there's a lot of tiredness, but we are more spiritual and we are intelligent. So you may think like, okay, y'all lazy, I don't like to work. No, we don't like to work for capitalists. No, we don't want to fight in people's wars that we had shit to do with. No, we don't believe in just going to random people's land. And it's like we're a different group of people, but we do have intelligence on our side and we do have the capabilities of spiritual awareness too. And so, Gen Zs, believe it or not, they do imitate us, they copy us. I heard they was trying to do Ed Hardy. They trying to rock Ed Hardy again. What they don't realize is that we was rocking Ed Hardy in high school. I had the Ed Hardy perfume. That was in high school. Okay, the Ed Hardy little shirt and stuff. I love the Ed Hardy. Remember that perfume that came out? So they trying to bring that back, and act like they come out with something new. I'm like, Ed Hardy, dude, we was rocking. They want to bring back band Von Dutch. Remember Von Dutch? Like, dude, we that's old. We've been doing Von Dutch. We did Ed Hardy in high school. So they want to bring that back. Act like they came up with some, which is cute, because they find in a way and things like that. And so we want to give them encouragement too, especially Generation Alpha. We don't want to write them all off. Like I know people think they're a lost cause. I don't think that. I think that they need some more, a little more guidance and that we can provide that. Millennials can provide that, you know. And that little small rivalry, that little I heard the millennials and the Gen Zs arguing back and forth about how they try to talk about the Ed Hardy. I thought that was so funny when I was like, yo, I had the Ed Hardy perfume. Oh, that was my favorite perfume. I ain't gonna hold you. Oh, that little pink bottle with the little skulls on. That was my shit back in the day. I kid you not. Okay. But we sit up there and we judge them for copying us, but we was remember and I know the niggas at Hutch Tech gotta remember this. There was a period in Buffalo, New York at Hutch Tech where everybody was dressing like the 80s. And loud ass colors that it was cool to dress like the 80s, bringing back them loud ass Reeboks. I had them. I brought that back single handedly to Buffalo, single handedly as the only. And when I say I don't, people was looking at what I say. Every teacher was looking like, why did this girl got them bright ass orange Reeboks on with all them weird colors on? I used to wear Dillius. I don't know if you guys remember. Dillius was like the weird, quirky kids, the quirky look. And I used to do some of the glamour look too. I like glamour, but sometimes I would want to be on my very colorful shit. And I get my Delius on. And I rocked them Reeboks, them bright ass orange Reeboks. And nobody had them, just me. And I remember my friend I know since I was about to say her name. I had to protect some of these people. I'll never forget, I know her since we were 10, we went to a master camp together. And I remember she said, "You always was doing something different." She said, "You know what sucks?" And she says, "By next week, everybody gonna have a pair of them Reeboks on. Right now, you look real unique, and everybody wondering why you got bright ass neon orange Reeboks on." But she said next week, and she said, "I get annoyed when people do that to you." She said, "I don't think you realize how much people do that to you." And she told me that. She pulled me to the side, like in high school at Hutch Tech, and we had that conversation. Like, what you talking about? I didn't even realize people were. She said, "People be biting your shit, man." I'm telling you, she said. And sure enough, because I got picked on by the teachers. The teachers was like, "Why is you rocking that? Like you bright as hell with them orange neon. You look like they was looking like you look like a clown." That's how they was treated. Like, that's some clown shit. I already knew what I was doing. I said, I'm about to set a trend up in this bitch. Y'all know? Y'all know? Next week, oh my, everybody had, it was the orange Reebok, yellow one, green. They had these neon 80s styles Reeboks. Them kids, them black kids, I did literally in 1 week. And she said, "Didn't I tell you they was gonna do that?" And she was like, "Why y'all be thinking, why she can't just have something?" She was like, she couldn't even have something. I said, "That's how it go. I know that's how it go." They was rocking the Jordans, so there wasn't nothing wrong with Jordans. I'm saying, like, I wanted to do something different. And so I said, well, and I want to do them. I want to do them orange ass Reeboks, bright ass oranges. So we had the little periods where we were copying the 80s. Um, that was in our style. And so with Gen Z's copying us, that shouldn't be, I mean, we just gotta guide them a little bit better because they trying to do the Ed Hardy and Von Dutch and Converse. Man, I used to rock the Converse, boy. That was my thing, the little Converse. They doing that again. They trying to bring back the stuff we wore in the 90s, the hairstyles from the 90s. I know how to do all those styles. Like right now, I like to do simple stuff. Like this little, even the picture that you see on your screen. It took me, no lie, 10 minutes to do that hairstyle. I was not, when I was a kid and younger, and I used to do them intricate ass styles that take 12 hours. You standing on your feet for 12 hours and got to do the sewing, the braids, and the twisties and all that. I still know how to, it takes too much to do that type of hairstyles. Like the little 90s with the crimping and cramping and all that. I used to do that stuff in high school. And these look real cute, but I can't stand in it and have my fingers all in my head like that for that many hours, these days. That shit like standing, you have to stand in the mirror, you had to, you know, so maybe you could see I used to do the crochets, the crochet. That shit take too long. That's all it be. It's just too time consuming. I like to do something that's gonna take about 5, 10 minutes now. This style with the little ponytail, that shit took 10 motherfucking minutes. Put that they got the new Shea Moisture Black Castor Oil Edge Control, guys. They got this. It's an edge gel. They got this. It's a Shea Moisture Shea Moisture black castor oil. Um, they edge gel. That's actually a nice gel. It's nice. It don't have all them ingredients. That's why I like, because they don't have all the chemicals in it. And that's all you need, ladies. You brush that shit up in a brush, put that ponytail on there. Okay, it took 10 minutes, and that's where I'm at today. And then I take it out whether I'm not, because that shit be tight. I use two little rubber, you know what I mean? And so, not rubber, pony, uh, them nice, them safe ponytails that don't break your hair off, and that's it. I can't sit and do them hairstyles like that no more. Hey, Bowley in the building. I'm so happy to see you. Greetings. I am happy to see you, love. Sure is. And so, yeah, we're gonna get back to Negro starting from scratch. We got these blueprints, we got these frameworks. It ain't nothing to be. I don't see what, and I know the genius. I ain't even gonna hold you. We talking about genius inventions that niggas will come up with, like that black dude that came up with that stuff, building that hydroponics vertically like that. They literally came to him like the neighborhood, like these white dudes, they came to kind of study his method because it was a new method he literally invented on his own because he ain't had no he in the hood. I mean, not in the hood, but in the city, and it's he ain't got no. It's like yard space, so it's like, well, you have to build vertically if you don't got no acres of land. You know what I mean? And he had to do hydroponics, so he developed a new version of a hydroponic system, and he explained it. He was, and I hope that that there's no government that come after him or anything, or like, oh, you got to take that down. But that was brilliant. And he just like, oh, I just came up with it, like just happenstance. Oh, I just came up with it, you know. And so with people don't have no faith no more, and it is going to be a separation from the chaff and the wheat. I ain't gonna hold you. There is going to be people that perish. Ain't nobody gonna be. We just heard of we had this black girl rapper named Sakiti in Atlanta. She got shot in the face 4 times just this week, and that the 3-year-old baby girl just got killed just last week, black girl, in that same area. We not doing. I don't care how much I say. Oh, you elitist. No, if y'all are on that type of time, she was trying to do rapping, and she was, her friend had just got killed a year ago. We ain't we about no earth things around here. Like where it says Nakhti order. Like, I'm sorry, like I'm not an elitist. Like I like come as you are. I'm from the hood, so it's like who am I to, I'm not, but to the extent where niggas is trying to jack up niggas and y'all acting like y'all can't just come together to think and organize like how our ancestors did, what our ancestors are known for. These ancestors, that's what they've been doing. They came after Reconstruction period with nothing. Sometimes sometimes they make a deal to do sharecropping and get to stay on the land. Sometimes they didn't have that option either, and they figured it out. They had skills and they know how to work together. And so that's the type of time we have to be on, putting that minds together. And like I said, I just have no doubt. I don't know where everybody else is at. Do I think it will be all 50 million of us? No. But do I think that there's a brilliant aspect of a streak of that the Most High gifted us with and will protect us and carry us through? Yes, I do believe that 100%. Yes, fuck, I do. It's not going to be easy, but there's motherfucking trees out there. You don't act like, now you gonna act like you don't know how to build a fucking cabin. We told y'all to start learning this carpentry stuff. We told you to start printing off those manuals for wooden airplanes, and I did. I got it all, and not off the internet and downloaded somewhere. You know what I mean? The shit, wooden airplanes, solar panel, all types of shit. And I'm not one that's panicking, like, oh, I gotta do this all now, or else I'm going. Nah, I'm chilling. I am chilling, 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 chilling. Okay. But I'm just saying, like, these are the carpentry schematics of building foundations and structures of housing. It's probably like the asphalt, like how do how you need to cement and how to lay that stuff down and what how to there's some very cool stuff out there, man. How to, like, even the way you can build certain natural greenhouses without actually having to have like the a formal greenhouse, which is easy to build. Don't get me wrong, you just buy it out of Amazon. But I'm saying if you had to, like, there's certain ways you can build things to keep heat, to trap in heat. There's certain you can do with water barrels. You could just have water barrels. Then if you build it in a certain direction of, you want to make sure, it's obviously the south or whatever, You have windbreakers. You have trees act as windbreakers, so you can be systematic in the way even you plant your trees, and the way where you keep your crops at. To build just even natural greenhouses. People know these things. People are doing these things. With me, I ain't saying I'm doing all of that, but I'm saying it's in my mind. Transpiration method of water collection. All like for one, it's in my mind, but also I do have the literal schematics too offline. It's like, okay, we'll figure it out wherever I'm at, and I ain't gonna roll with nobody that's on that demonic type of time. And by that, you just y'all jealous or y'all fighting and then cats and dogs can't figure it out, and so and so is trying to do this, and I'm not into all of that. Like that's just not my personality. Like I don't need to keep people distracted, you know. And so there's people that will figure it out wherever you at in the world. People will figure these things out. They talking about Cuba and the situation in the Philippines. Them people is smart enough. Like if they put their mind together and come up with that, you can create a solar panel out of fucking recycled CDs, out of mirrors. You know what I mean? Solar panels out of just mirrors. Like, why are we acting like you're just gonna just be down and out? I don't think I realized that their dimension collapsed. They don't want to tell you, but it did. You should be happy. You should be the timelines is moving away from that of the high control system. Say I call it satanic system. You guys call it narcissistic system. High control systems, exploitative systems, racist systems, peerless systems. We coming out of that. And people have to rely on their cultural IPUs. So by cultural IPUs, I mean like their ancestral egregores, their ancestral knowledge. We come talking about the Ne-gros one, which is high in inventions, high in musicality and inventions in agriculture, believe it or not. Very gifted in them type of skills, coming up with very cool inventions around agriculture, very cool inventions around tech, just anything pretty much when it comes to research and development. So that is the skill that we know that they egregore is based in. Same with music, obviously, um, and sports too. But even the way we craft out sports, like I've had frameworks around, y'all getting into that sports betting and that gambling. That's a no no for us. But we do have things around um, a new economic structure, supplemental economic structure around sports that I'm not going to talk about that right now because it's all offline. I wrote it in a notebook somewhere and I got to develop it more. But like, there will be a time where I do come forward with that online. Like talk about it in a YouTube video, whatever, break it down. Of course, it's just not time for that. But I will discourage people. I hope you guys aren't getting into that sports betting stuff. There's a better way to crack that out. And the fact that they didn't crack it out better than that lets me know that they just want people addicted. You know what I mean? So that's not cool. And that's just the egregore that we based our stuff in. Intervention, innovation. Now say uh you have Asian countries, like say Japan. They have they root their IPUs based on their ancestral. They have to start with the ancestral science. So Amrat Rutsu, which is their you got to start with your spiritual system first. So for Ne-gros, it would be some of the things that we know in terms of Jacobian science, Solomonic science, hoodoo, shamanism, folklores. I don't want to get too deep into other sciences we know, but we know these like Commission science, like there's certain things that we would know as Ne-gros naturally, but very little effort. Now you get to, China. They have their IQ that they have to root their stuff in. Same with Africa, Kivalon. They have the IPUs that they will root their stuff in. We talk about ancient stuff like no culture. So like Nigeria, they will be going back to no culture. And these are the blueprints and these are the knowledge that you have to rely on if you have a reset. You have to have it, you have to know who you are. We can't just blend everything and make everything one and forget about we can't just continue to steal from other people's culture and then discredit or act like we don't know where it came. That happened a lot to Black Americans. And so it's not good to continue that way. But if people are having enough self-esteem within their own IPUs, their own culture, and the lineage in which they stand on, then they'll be fine. Now, obviously, with India, they have all the way back to the Vedics, the Rig Vedas, the Upanishads, the Devi Mahatmya's, the Shakti school of thought, Advaita Vedanta. They have a lot actually. Um, what's unfortunate is their gods are a little disappointed and they're squirmed to try to be westernized because they have enough juice to figure it out on their own just through their IPUs of their or what they stand on. Everybody does. Every culture does, believe it or not. You have the Latin, have South America. They got Aztecs, they got Incans, they got Mayans, they got that Mexican I'm gonna jack that name up. I ain't even gonna try it. Y'all know what I'm talking about. That guy they have over there, that Coco oh man, I don't want to jack it up. Everybody know what I'm talking about. They know what I'm talking about over there. But they had Aztecs, Mayan. Um, I know that a lot of the Mayan culture was destroyed as far as some of their sciences, but they still got some pretty powerful stuff. So that's what we mean by like people don't have to freak out and act like, oh my gosh, the sky is falling. Like you have sciences, you start there, and then from there you remember who you are as a people based on your lineage and your culture. You're getting in tune with the Most High. You need that sun. You need water. You need and then you can go from there as far as your organization. People will figure it out. As you can see, we just showed that Nakhti order stuff. We on a whole nother. You see how advanced that stuff is. So if the Ne-gros shutter, they'll be good if they listen and take instruction. Now they want to be all loosey goosey and follow that system. Walk to the slaughterhouse and be all self hating and self hatred of the black women's and all greedy and materialistic. Then they're gonna perish. But if they follow some sound instruction and go within, rely on themselves and believe in the kingdom of God within and work together and love thy neighbor, because we are going to talk about in the next video what the proper teaching of what love thy neighbor means. We getting into Hebrew, like we going deep. We breaking that down what neighbor mean. Like we gonna go deep, deep. So I want to stay tuned for that next video with Shiesty. We gonna talk about Pooh Shiesty. Now I did thought his name was Shiesty Pooh. I ain't gonna hold you. But I found out the correct way is Pooh Shiesty. Lord have mercy. So we're gonna be talking about that, but we're gonna be breaking. It's real serious about like the Messiah equation in his name and how his fate turned out. And then we're gonna talk about like what is some of the teaching Yeshua's teaching about what love the Lord your God, the Most High, with all your heart, and then love your neighbor, then the fulfillment of the law being love. And what that means in terms of bloodline, or what that means in terms of a bloodline and orders and high societies, not secret societies, high societies, and keep moving things out of just transactional relationships. Then what you got for me, or what you could show me, or what you ain't nothing, all that nonsense. We're moving past that and getting into the soul, and the soul is pure. We're moving into that heart space, and so there's no room for that shallow stuff. There's no room in what the world we're going into. Substance based. Say there ain't no substance. You got a lot of substance, but not university. Stop playing on my fucking time. There's a lot of substance. You just didn't prop it up. You want to complain. You waiting for them folks to prop it up. They ain't gonna prop it up. They want you to see you destroyed. So why would they promote anything uh good in your community? They've been promoting degeneracy in your community. They've been promoting people, your leaders being entertainers and all that, and influencers being people that's promoting some nonsense in your community. They've been doing it. So you have to do something different on your own. It's as simple as that. You have to build out some of that infrastructure to be able to do that. It's as simple as that. And if you're not able to, then you need to explain to me outright. Because I know a lot of y'all is in that caught up in that system, and y'all don't be saying nothing. And I have to try to figure out things on my own because y'all in some, you said this y'all little secret society. That's what it is. I'm not saying y'all like who's listening. I'm just saying the people that's acting really weird, you know. And so, we have to keep moving, even if it's just small group. We have to do that's this is simple as that. We're not here to convert nobody, and we damn sure can't save these people. I don't I would tell they say, oh, people is chosen and wait good on it already all the information is out there. What you awakening? Unless it's some side, ain't no awakening going mainstream. That's just a psyop. Anybody talking about some awakening going mainstream? Oh, you better run the opposite direction. Ain't no awakening going no fucking mainstream. That means it's some bullshit they about to tell you, some half-ass stuff, or some stuff that's about to lead you astray, or some stuff to keep you trapped in a sense. So ain't no awakening going on mainstream. I can't believe I heard that. But anyways, let's continue playing this. I gotta be good on time.
within a system that is fit and comfort to their own nature, their own environment, and what makes sense. And so that's something that they have to realize, and that's something that they have to embrace and know 100% without a doubt. They have to embrace that. They have to know that 100%. That if they was left at ground zero, they will figure it out. And like I said, it won't take no 50 years. It won't take no 100 years. It will be very quickly because of your ancestral epigenetics and your ingenuity. But you have to merely believe in miracles in yourself. That's it. That's what I would tell the Negro. I will also tell them that if you read these books from somebody, and I know somebody got the book. I've went through so much books in my lifetime. I have to say I cannot remember the exact quote of the person, but I know there's another Negro scholar that can dig up that information fairly quickly and give you what I'm saying. He said that they have to, like, it was pretty much like after watching black people on their plantation or watching them on their own farmland and watching them how they build when they left to their own, as far as having all the skills during the Reconstruction period, rather. There's a quote by a white dude that was saying what take them 50 years to build up, as far as the group of people, it will take, quote unquote, Negroes 10 years to build up. They've built very quickly in terms of that ingenuity, the inventions, the coming up with cool ways to build a city. And somebody can find that quote, like, it'll only take them about 10 years to do what it will take us 50 years. So we have to infiltrate them. We have to find a way to to destabilize them. And so that's what you have to pay attention to. These people tell you it's right to your face. And so they've been using a different form of warfare, no touch, sight, kill, which consists of even deception, acting like they're your friend, acting like they're giving you something, acting like you're is creating an illusion that gets you to idolize them. And usually the go-to is to find some Judases. It's the best way to do it. You have to have someone within your own. This is how they've destabilized multiple countries around the world. And to be honest, it works in certain countries more than others. It depends on how you feel about your self-esteem. It depends on how you feel about your IPUs, which is your ideal parallel universes of constructions that your ancestors already created. So your body of knowledge, your ancient empires, your ancient civilizations. Those are the shoulders that you stand on, the shoulders of giants. And that's the information that you rely on to get you through when there's a force trying to conquer you or when there's a force after you. So I'll give you an example. They went to Singapore, president of Singapore at one point, try to offer him money to sell his people out. He said no. They get sanctions, but they figured it out long term. They use this method in Africa where when they say they want to force a regime change, they're usually either going to arm them. If they do say no, they'll arm the people and come up with proxy warfares like, say, Houthis and Tutsis, and they'll take each other out. Now, as they fought, but they fell for the propaganda. It's usually some internal issue that they were able to exploit, be it self-hatred, be it tribalism, be it whatever, be it greed, be it jealousy. But when it comes to the fact that, say, the Judas method is they usually always going to go to the leader's morning star, the leader's brightness, and go to the people that's around them. If the morning star says no, like, say, let's give you Thomas Sankara example. Thomas Sankara said no, I'm not gonna sell out my people. Okay, then now let's see if they have a chance. The next step in the warfare is, who can we arm? Are we able to start a proxy war there? No, he got them fully under their control and they believe in his mission. That's not going to work. And you know that because they had a revolutionary camp, a school that they would teach people his school of thought as far as self-pride and taking control over your destiny and your nation. That was already too late. They couldn't set up the arm each other method. So what's the last method? The Judas method. Go to the people that's close around you to sell you out. And that's usually always your closest friend or somebody, but that is not everybody, right? So they'll look for who they feel is jealous, who they feel wants power, and who they feel is greedy. And they'll study that for a minute, not too long, because they got to move quick. They'll study it and they'll always find it. And you'll see this method time and time again. And with Thomas Sankara was his best friend, who was actually extremely jealous of him and took the deal. And then they set him up to be killed. Then he became the president. Then he got the money. Then he was able to, have the power. But then what happened to Burkina Faso? And went to shit. And that's just facts. It was nothing but a banana republic. And that's a different type of regime change. So people have to be familiar with that. Okay? As far as how that system works. I mean, I call it satanic system. You guys can call it whatever. But that's how they work to destabilize nations and even communities. You can see it in the Black community too. It will be always somebody, just like with Fred Hampton was William O'Neill. Just like with Malcolm X, it was people within his organization. But it's not everybody in the organization, right? It's not everybody that was in the Black Panther Party, right? You have to go through, you have to study. They'll study that. So they'll study someone who they feel is jealous. They'll study someone who they feel wants power and money, who can be bought off with it. Now, you got some people they'll go to and they'll say, oh, no. Sometimes it be a hit or miss. Sometimes they may have set up a sociographic profile or a psychological profile on someone and they were wrong. They were wrong. And that person go and tip that other person off or say, no, I'm not doing that. You'll see that. I'll give you an example, and these people are still living. And so I'm not trying to catch slack or put nobody, I'm just saying I'll give you an example, okay? Now, this is public information. If anybody who read Angela Statton's book, remember the feds came to her about young Jeezy and wanted her to be an informant and snitch and rat him out. And remember, she said no, told them no, fuck out of here, did her bid, and then told him. Now, he cut her off for life. He couldn't even trust it, which that is a part of the game. If you get approached and you tell someone, oh, so-and-so, watch out for so-and-so, they have just a part of warfare. You do have to, unfortunately, know that you're going to have to get cut off, because the fact that they even can get that close to you, the feds could even come to you, is still problematic for anybody that's actually trying to build something, trying to do something, trying to be something, even if it's on a small level, even if it's nothing but starting a label, even if it's nothing but starting a business, even if it's just starting a community. But imagine if it's starting a nation or empire, So if someone is like to tip you off and you read that book, it's a good book, and you see what Angela Statton, she said, yeah, they came to me, but she got caught up in stuff that was much above her pay grade too. But she told them no, and then went and said, hey, and tipped Young Jeezy off, said, this is what they told me, be careful. I said no, but he still couldn't even. And then she said in the book, it was like, yeah, he just cut her off. But that, unfortunately, she probably would have not ever, she probably didn't even mean him no harm. But at the same time, he had no choice but to do that. It's like, damn, the fact that they can get, and so sometimes like you have to consider that, even if you just know that person. And you have to think, you have to be strategic in that. But that's just something I wanted you guys to know, because what I see is what I see is the delaying of the inevitable, even amongst the Negro, when it comes to the situation they in, because of another group able to either smile in their face more, give them money, or get to their Judases, and not realizing that it's still a part of a warfare game, long-term game, and try to taciturn warfare. They know how to set up gender wars, but they also know how to exploit real legitimate concerns that say Black men may have or Black women may have. These may be real legitimate concerns that we have to actually heal from and deal with as a community. But then somebody can exploit it and degrade the conversation, devalue the conversation to such a low frequency and low level where it's just more infighting and more bullshit. You know, how to politicize things. Stuff that don't have nothing to do with Democrats and Republicans all of a sudden become one of their talking points, and one of their talking heads come out. And then once again, we still distracted. Shit we should be discussing as a community. Like we should be discussing, you know, how certain bloodlines tie to the Black European monarchy from the Sephardic Moors, and how and even the tribes in which they descend from, whether that be over in Akibalan or Kemet, how they got over here. We should be discussing the intermingling even with the Indians over here too, and how they got caught up, and how the reclassifications of having to change from their Pacific tribes through the contraband schools and the apprenticeship schools to Negro. We should be having these high level conversations, discussions of genealogy. But then somebody would come, one of these parties, one of these political parties, and degrade the conversation to now you're fighting against melanated people. Now you're distracted. Now you're talking about, you know, oh, so-and-so is a tether, so-and-so. And now they could be saying something actually credible. But see, now you're distracted. And now you can't even see how some of the Judases is even among your own community of your bloodline and your quest for, as you say, delineation. You see what we're saying? Well, so you have to, when we say enshrouded taciturn warfare is ever maneuvering. It's a maneuvering tactic. It's a part of mental guerrilla warfare, but they use dark psychology. They'll use the money game. They'll use the Judas game. It's levels of warfare you haven't seen. And you say, well, how do you know about this stuff? Well, the watchers, we've been watching what y'all been doing. We decided to incarnate at this time, but I mean, it's an easy game to detect, for one. And how do you combat it? Standing on business, standing on the truth to the end, not being afraid to speak the truth, not being afraid to fight for the truth. And we're not talking about physical combat necessarily, you know, and also not being afraid to die. You see the situation, and I will go deep. We'll go deep, and if I have to if they remove it, this video, they remove it. Situation in Iran, and the situation between the regime that they're fighting against. Typically, presidents have been warned by their handlers to not listen to the advice of you know who to go and start a beef with Iran in particular, because of the values and different strategies, okay, when it comes to fighting. So I'll give you one. If someone plays this regime, the regime one plays the money game. They play the Judas game, and they play the deception game. They play the bully game. But what are their weaknesses? They're afraid to die. They're very materialistic. They're very fragile. They lie, and they base everything off of the illusion, right? So these are people that are afraid to die, and they lie. So they built everything based on a lie, you see? And you have another regime. It could be very problematic in a sense too. But they still have an IPU of ancient civilizations history. So a repository intelligence of, say, Persian Empire mixed with some of the Ottoman Empire, so mixed with some of the science of, y'all want to go there, the Anunnaki, Sumerian Empire, okay? These are very brilliant systems, caliphates, okay? When we say that don't mean that they're not problematic. We're just saying that they have enough information to build up a new body of work and ancestral knowledge that will protect them, right? 2, they're not afraid to die. Them motherfuckers are crazy. You know, they're not afraid to die. And they're not materialistic. And they have natural resources. And they have an IPU of ancestral knowledge that they stand on. See the two different regimes? So traditionally, the handlers on the other side, usually the Western, American, whatever, have told presidents for the last 40 years, don't do it. It's a different fighting style. And one in which it will clash too much where you would end up losing pretty much. You see this just at a childhood level. And just think of it as a childhood, at the childhood level. Have you ever you had a bully, right? Who pick on somebody that's quiet minding their business. And then they used to call it the quiet one. Never mess with the quiet one. Oh, the quiet ones are crazy. Oh, they you push them far, they just boom, they'll fight. They end up going crazy on your ass. And then the bully ends up backing down. That's just like, you don't need to have it think of it as an empire level or presidential. You could think of it just as like a schoolyard bully in a regular person. When you was kids, you knew not to mess with certain people. Has nothing to do with the actual faith, the religion, the race, the gender, none of that. It's just take all that out of it. It's the same concept. There's certain people you just don't mess with. If you know that you're afraid to have it, like say, like the bully is fragile, he likes to have a certain image. They're image obsessed. They're narcissistic. So they have to have even if the image is built on a lie, they still want to keep that lie. And so if you know your ego is fragile and your systems is fragile, you don't go and pick with somebody, even if you think they weaker than you, that they don't care about image. They're not afraid to fight. They're not afraid to take a L if it means standing up for themselves. They're not afraid to die. You don't mess with people like that. So that's why they were warned for 40 years to stay out of that area. And someone manipulated old dude into doing the opposite. We know what that was, and we know who it was. We know, look, we still got to worry about national security things. So I can't say everything, for obvious reasons. We know exactly who was behind it. We know we are real. Okay. But that's when you're not trained in pedigree. That's how when you try to do a coup d'etat over a nation, and you're not trained in pedigree. You're not trained in a mystery schools. You're not trained in a science because you racist. Because you decided to be racist and you decided to align and sell out when you could have had your chance. And you know who you aligned with, but you could have had your chance. But they paid him big money to do what he doing. And they playing the Judas and the money game, the ego game, and the racism game. And by that, we mean like you got a people who operate, who's building things based on a lie and not the truth. And anytime you build something on a lie, the illusion crumbles always. And that, again, transcends anybody's race, gender, or religion. It just affects life. Like scavenger magic is always a weaker form of magic than primordial science, than even primal Hebrew science, than Cometian science, than any, let's see, what else is science? Earth, some of the earth elements, even some of the original, did we go there? I don't know. Yeah, y'all not ready for that. I'll just say this. Them people is using a science that they think come from, say, Goetia or Lesser Key of Solomon. I'll say this. I could tell them with 100% certainty that is not them same entities. Those entities think that it's what they are doing is too dumb of a behavior, too stupid and unintelligent for that to even be them. Because anybody can trick you and tell you that they this, they entity, they this, they I'm this, I'm Samuel, I'm anybody can say anything, right? And so it's a hoodwink, That's what I'll say. And for those that can hear me read between the lines. Now, if you really want to question me on that, especially Ne-gros who are over there thinking they about it and know a little something, you ought to know better than most. You ought to just go get the belt. You ought to just go learn the fine art to sit your motherfucking ass down somewhere. You're going to get it harsher because you should know better. You should know better given the IPUs that you stand on, the sciences that are in your epigenetics. You should know better. Now, I'm not going, because people going to think if I give you the scenario of how you should know better, people going to think that I'm coming throwing digs at, because a lot of black people went that route and was studying under them teachers. And I could break down on a very methodical level just from the stuff that even I read when I was 18 and knew instantly, hell no, you can't follow that. That ain't whatever that ain't it. And I could break it down equation wise based on how those ancient Chaldeans moved and how our ancestors moved. They didn't move sloppy like that. Okay. And so I don't want to, go there. If we were offline, or if we were, into our own group or something, and I could tell y'all, like, look, just the fact that this person opened up something and didn't know how to close it, and admitted on record that he didn't close it, as far as the portals that he opened up, no melanated person would ever follow that. And you should put two and two together if you well versed. And I knew when I heard that at 18 years old, I knew instantly, hell no, you don't follow that. And so we see a whole industry following it. And when you see even politicians following it, you should know to go the opposite way, Negro. You should know to go the opposite. No go. You turn instantly around. What they call it, about face. Remember that? For those that's in the military. About face. See, that's what y'all motherfucking ass should have been doing. About face. Soon as you heard something like that come out of somebody's mouth. But they didn't. I've seen Negroes quoting them, And so, read between the lines. You should have known better. Now look at, you see, that spirit infiltrated this community. Somebody tell you they forgot to close it. They don't know how to close it. They opened up this and they didn't even close it. And then you get involved with them people, and that stuff is on you now. And I know it. I've seen this. I can see it in the eyes. I can see the spirit in some of it of these people that claim to be so-called black. You can see that, like, oh, you can see it. Not all black people. Okay. We're gonna give you the tough love, but also give you the grace, and also give you the truth. And sometimes the truth is not pretty. It requires that introspection. And regardless of, you may hate it, you may not like it, but the Most High does hold you to a higher standard. Okay? For yourself, not to take care of other people, not to be no sacrificial lamb, not for yourself and the people on your frequency. That's what that means. For the people that's on your frequency. That's all it means. Ain't nobody trying to get you out here to do on no dummy mission, because people don't fuck with us, and that's okay. That's okay. It wasn't always like that though. They got an answer to why they self-esteem is so low, why they following that illusion like that. And we thank the Most High, and even the people in those nations that are smart enough to see through that illusion and turn the other way. Even though it might have meant the sanctions, even though it might have meant hardships in the interim. And even some of the nations that played the game, but is watching, they sneaky. They maneuver quickly. They're not as dumb as you think. A lot of the Asians do. A lot of the Asian nations are known for that. Where they don't trust this system. I'll say it that way. They may be trying to figure out a way out, or they may, do deals, I'll say. But they don't actually trust. They still looking for a way to, if not, they already have some upper hands in many areas. And some outright said no. So read between the lines. Okay. But for one nation, within a nation, and I want to say this to you sellout Judas ass bitches that I got on recording attacking me when I came with some information to try to relay to the community, and they all attacked me, and I got it recorded so nobody could say, oh, she's just on. I have the evidence of me saying, hey guys, this country, there's a coup d'etat going on. There's a regime change at the intelligence level of America. Now everybody attacked me. Oh, you lying. They went right into that COINTELPRO mode and was saying, this is what they accused me of, right? And I had the recording of it. They accused me, and that's why they deleted my Twitter, because they wanted to bury all that evidence of what them niggas was doing and who they was working for. But I'll tell you this. They accused me saying, mind you, all I was talking about was a governance system in lieu of what I knew was a coup that was unconstitutional. And so what I was proposing was in alignment with the Constitution, okay? That's the key. And I was merely proposing governance structure that was in alignment with the Constitution in lieu of what I knew was an attempted coup. But hear this out. They said, mind you, this is what they said, you're trying to build a nation within a nation, and that is illegal. And you're going to get us in trouble. And they tell all Black Americans don't follow nothing she's saying. She's wrong. This is what they said, right? This is what these motherfuckers said. These bitch ass niggas. These scary ass punk ass sellout niggas. But I'll tell you this, right? You know how you know that that's some bullshit? They don't realize, right? They talking about APEC. They talking about foreign nation, like how our country is in bed with another nation. Y'all all know who that nation is, right? Y'all know that nation has given money to all of our politicians, and all of our politicians do whatever they say, and they get in trouble and blacklisted and blackballed if they don't play ball. They got to go to that wall. Everybody know what I'm talking about. They all got to go to that wall, right? And bow their head, right? All of our politicians, right? Isn't that an overthrow of a nation? Isn't that building a nation within a nation? Isn't that illegal? Isn't that what I was calling out in 2024 on record? And you see how them niggas attacked me. But you see how they all took bags from them. Do y'all not see where I'm going with this? Read between the lines. They are the ones building a nation within a nation. That's illegal. That's unconstitutional. And when I go and tell them that, these Judases, they attack me to protect what them people was trying to build. And those are let me shut up. But do y'all not see that play? And it's all recorded and documented. Why do you think they scared to death of people to know what I be talking about? Because it's documented how they waged that warfare on me, that COINTELPRO for years. And how I received that phone call saying they willing to go to, from a government operative saying they willing to go to war with me and my bloodline to keep their power. Mind you, I'm the deer in the headlights. I don't know what the hell going on. But you see how if they was so about being righteous and being so patriotic, why would you defend a coup and not call out the actual building a nation within a nation? It's not me. And that go for the white folks too. They can't, that's too dumb. They too racist to see actually what was being called out. You're too dumb. So you saw it was just some black girl and you immediately aligned with him, but you don't realize that he took the bag to bring in a nation within a nation. But then you got mad at me for trying to have Negroes who built this country be in front of the nation, meaning get running it. Mind you, they're American citizens. Mind you, they're indigenous. A lot of them are indigenous to America. Mind you, they are aware of governance of American infrastructure from the political level, the healthcare level, the medical level, the educational level, the agricultural level for hundreds of years. But you got upset because we wanted mere Jacobians who are here since the foundation of this country, literally here, shit, damn near what, 1600, 1500, 14, and some just Indians, like even my matriarchal side, Indians. Okay, you got upset at me and went into a whole touch, no touch psych warfare, was paid whatever you had to do to keep that covered up and keep me covered up and try to take me out as long as y'all been trying to do. But you had no smoke for them. You couldn't see the Jedi mind trick. Dude told you he was a snake to your face, not once, but twice. You couldn't see it because you're blinded by the illusion built on a lie. So you wanted to walk into, and then the niggas are so self-hating. They see white man, they gotta go with white. Oh yeah. They couldn't see it. They couldn't see how the gang, the warfare, and try to toss the term warfare is usually based on deception of being friendly to you, even if that means giving you money, and if that means letting you sleep with they women, even if that means letting you appear to live good. You can't even see it, and it's all a trap. That's how it go. That's how it go. But if you see, oh, it's a black woman, oh no, not realizing that because you were so racist. Okay, if you say some niggas got some light codes and some light science and some epigenetics and some morality and some ethics to build something up that's new, that's in alignment with their constitution, that and call out the corruption and call out the child trafficking and call that out. And but you run over to the people that's actually just trying to cover it up and make themselves the hero when they were the bad guy the whole time. And so there's consequences of jealousy, there's consequences of self-hatred, there's consequences of all that stuff. And that's some GIA shit for your ass because people, I could take accountability for my foolishness, my mistakes, my arrogance, because the Most High checks me. And I could take that, I could learn from it, and I could admit it publicly. And I could apologize and pivot and get smarter and brighter and better. Because I'm not image obsessed. But I want to warn the American people about this. People that are image obsessed, and by that, now we're not talking about just looking good and taking care of your health and doing your hair and grooming. We're not talking about that. We're talking about someone who creates identity and image based on a lie, whether they do scavenger magic, Puritan magic, willing to sacrifice somebody, willing to lie, willing to cover up a crime, willing to take a bag to cover.
And that's why I was strategic in putting this photo up with no filter. There is zero filter, zero makeup. I didn't usually like to change my backgrounds into something cool. That's my real background. That's why I put, you know, that photo up. There's not a lick of makeup. There's no nose surgery. It's a big bell pepper Negro nose. There's no concealer under the eyes. There's nothing. That's just how I look right off the bed. And that's just how it was early in the morning. And I did that strategically, I'm like the image obsessed. That's different than just getting dressed and get some earrings and put some makeup on. In the other photo, I did do my makeup. I did put my makeup on. I did have put some earrings on, you know. But in this photo, it's just as raw as it get. Like the day that I took that motherfucking photo, and there is no, oh, did you put a filter on? No, there is no filter. There is no effects, nothing. There is no AI, because that's that. But so I'm not shaming people that want to, put the, get groomed and glamored or whatever, because I like to get groomed and glamored myself. I love to, I do my own makeup. That's that. I don't have no makeup artist. That's my own makeup look. I've been doing makeup. I had a professional grade makeup book when did I get that book? Around 11 years old. A professional grade, like that taught concealer, that taught contouring, that taught the different, like I got it for Christmas. My sister had got it for me. I don't she probably remembers that. She had got me that book for Christmas. And it was the stuff that it was a book that you would get like if you was to go to a makeup school, and how to blend in the shadows, how to make your lips look bigger, how to make how the contour look, all that stuff, eyebrows. And I've always been bad with eyebrows. I'm not gonna hold you, but um, what's it called, eyeliner, all that stuff. I had learned, I had got that. I had learned that when I was like 11 or 12 because I had that professional grade book. Then I had the professional grade mannequin hair for like you get for it's called a beauty school of Mirage and what's it called? It's a beauty school in Buffalo. Dang, I know somebody know that beauty school in Buffalo. Beauty School of Mirage or this is I can't remember the name, but they used to have like these mannequin heads that had 100% human hair, so you could practice braiding. You could practice your braiding, you could practice your washing, your techniques. You know how you just when you go to beauty school, they had that head, and so my sister also gave me one of them dowels. But it was a real one though, real 100% human hair, and to practice doing hair. And that's how I learned how to do hair real good too. I learned how to do hair really, really well from practicing on that down. I learned how to do makeup really, really well from that book. I did all my friends' makeup. I taught all my friends how to do makeup. And then when we were in college, you know, at Ball State, I used to do for the club. The girl I used to do their makeup for the club. And whether they were real dark skin, I know how to blend that shit up good. Whether they were real light skin, I know how to blend that shit up good. I'm in the middle. I'm brown skin, so I know I would have uh, I used to have to sometimes use, how to, when you do the contour, you have some of the deep colors, the more darker skin, and then you'll have lighter skin. So I know how to blend all that stuff. They didn't have no foundation, they didn't have, the proper color, making sure that it blends for their skin type, regardless of what skin color they were. I knew what would look good on the eyes. I knew what colors to put on their eyes, what to, so that was my thing, how to do the blush and stuff. So I'm not saying, image obsessed like that. I'm talking about on a deeper level when it comes to identity formation, more so of the inner, the reputation, but malignant narcissism to protect a reputation that's even not real, that's not even yours, like identity theft and all those type of things. You know what I mean? And so I'll stop talking and I'll continue to play it. We ain't got much time left because we got to get to the Shiesty Poo video. Pooh Shiesty. We got to get to that video.
I'm willing to take up money, willing to be a yes man, image obsessed. Anybody we talking about that? That's image obsessed, where they have to create a script that makes them look like the good person at all times. And you'll see what you'll see is the outcome of what you see now. People that are image obsessed, they will resort to malignant, as you guys say, is not the right term, but malignant narcissism, psychopathy, and sociopathy to keep up the illusion, the lie, the image, and the perceived power, even perceived power, the perception of power, image obsessed. And you see how that group of people, even if it means bombing a school of girls, hundreds of girls overseas, but did they not do that to the Negro in the 1960s? Did they not bomb a group of girls here? That was your cue then to get the fuck on. I'll say this. People that, and again, we're not talking about grooming. Somebody like to go to the gym, someone that like to hike, someone that want to make sure their hair look nice and skin is decent. That's not image obsessed. That's just basic grooming, hygiene, and keeping your health up. I'm not talking about that. We're talking about image obsessed. That's different than being self-absorbed. We talk about somebody that they so obsessed with it where they can't live in their truth because they're not even being their authentic self. They don't care to shift identities because they have none. And that means they have to steal it from someone else and act like they, this is what we're talking about. These are people with extremely, extremely low self-esteem. These are people that are extremely, extremely jealous hearted. You don't let those people get a foothold in a position of power because they will always resort to psychopathy and sociopathy to maintain their image. That image could be the perception of power. That image could be white supremacy. That image could be a group of people who feel that they have some religious authority over you or something. And if it's really them, then it's them. Like say people do come from a royal bloodline. Say somebody does descend from Ramesses the Second or something. If they really do, they're probably not image obsessed because they don't have to be. It's the truth. It's them. And even if it's their truth, it's them. So what the fuck do they care about somebody else thinking about their image for anyways? What the fuck would they care? Whether someone believes me or who I say I am. Why the fuck would I care? If someone say, if this whole world could say, oh, you lying about you saying you this and you that, you the octave of this, you the descendant of that, you the bloodline of this, you the that, I wouldn't care. Me as Jenny Dunn Stanley, I would not give a fuck. Because I'm not image obsessed. Is what I said. I know who I am. So I don't have to fake my identity so that somebody could like me or perceive me a certain way. You know? And a lot of the things I may do or say is not even in the most flattering light. It's not likable at all. But it's still me. And it's still the acknowledgement of the introspection process of that we have work to do. Self-development, growth, more self-development, more areas to grow in. The refinement from the Most High. That's all it is. You know? So you have to think about that. And so I want also, even within the Negro nation, for you guys to be aware of those things too with those type of characters. They do anything, even that mean they got to copy someone else, even that mean they got to, kill someone else, take someone else, or take Nipsey Hussle, or take Darren Sills, you gotta take the real guns, the big guns out just to showboat. You got to be careful of them type of people. Someone's light get cut short because of someone else's jealousy. Or someone's ability to be a Judas and get paid off. Okay? You gotta be careful of that. Gotta be careful. It ain't cute. It is just a perception of power. It ain't cute to align with that. Not long term, maybe short term, but it's short sighted. So be careful what you align with. You be careful. Be careful. And don't be afraid of nothing. Ever. And be the type of people, know your strengths, know your weaknesses too. Don't let your strength be materialism. Don't let your strength be if you can. If it's your strength, you better know how to maneuver on it. Like I say, that you can just, your strength is, we'll just pay everybody off. We'll just pay everybody off. You got to rely on that person being materialistic. So then that becomes your weakness. You see what I'm saying? So you have to be careful. You got to know who you're fighting against and what they value. You're fighting against a group of people that's afraid of spirituality. They're afraid of some real power, of a real master. They're afraid to die. They're afraid to fight people that are on that caliber. So you have to see that. You have to be aware of that. You have to decide as a group of people, as ethnicity, how you're going to be as far as your tool of artillery and what's it is? I'm going to say, auxiliary of what you bring to the table on the global stage. And one of them you do want to be is your ingenuity, your ability to innovate. Innovation, I know, is one of them. I'll tell you one of them. It's innovation. It's your ability to invent very quickly. It's your ability to invent, and it's your ability to, we talk about physical things, but also cultural trends too. Shaping social capital, social clarity on things. That is also your strength. I know of many more, but I'm not going to talk about them. I'm going to talk about the ones that is obvious because it's something you can find in a history book, right? I'm not going to talk about the other ones that are more deeper. Your other one, believe it or not, I'll give you one last one. This one be a little more cryptic. You have to read between the lines. The other one is your ability, your covenant with the creator God of the universe. Okay? Not the lesser gods, not the earth angels, not the fallen angels, not the regular angels, not the angel kingdom, not the 9 choir angels. Creator God of the universe. Higher than a primordial realm. Yes, that is higher than a primordial. And then a lot of they stop at primordial. It's a realm higher than that. And you was the only group that was bold enough, okay, to walk up in there and say, we want a covenant with your ass. And that was the God that was always protecting you until you wanted to get free and be free of it. That God is very mean. And that God is strict. And see, like how Sun Ra told you, the Africans and some of the Asians, they knew about that God. And they ran for the hills. They said, we'll deal with the lesser gods. We'll deal with earth, we'll deal with angels, whatever. We ain't dealing with that. Deuces, because force is too powerful. Force is too powerful to deal with. We ain't got time for all of that. Okay, we'll fit whatever. There is, with the exception of some tribes in Africa. We do know one tribe in Africa that also went that route too and still got that protection to this day. Very small, remote tribe. They live off nature. They don't mind their business. They ain't into all of that. The world. Very small tribe. But the Negro, historically, was that same group of people. And even, some of the, there was a couple of Indian tribe over here too. Not all of them. That also went straight to that source code. Straight to the source. And since that particular, the Most High, the creator God of the universe, is so indifferent, could care less, because this is the entity this is the force that creates dimensions, planets, solar systems, universes, omniverses. So planet Earth is just what a speck. Okay, let's be real. And so that God, well, we won't use the term God. That creator force, the creator force of of the entire thing, would take a liking to any tribe that comes with the sincerity, that comes with that seeks them out. Like, oh, you sought me out. You caught me down here. Wow. You guys are pretty cool. And you guys are pretty spiritual. You guys are pretty spiritually advanced. You guys have to be also pure hearts. I don't mean righteous, but you guys also have pure hearts to even do that too, because it requires a pure heart to get up there. It did, and it does. Okay? And so that force always took a liking to the Negro based on what they did thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. Thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. Let me say it again. Thousands and thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon is in your ancestry. Okay? It followed you even in this lifetime. But that covenant was that covenant. And that God, like I said, that entity is very strict. And so now you see the situation that we're in now. Don't think it's an abandonment or a punishment. It's just that we're dealing with the world of equations then. This is deeper than algorithms. We're dealing with the world of equations. We're dealing in the world of universal cosmic consciousness. Things that fit like a puzzle. It matches like a puzzle. So it's logical too. And it's very intelligent, but it's extremely creative. And so if the equation is not right, then unfortunately, even amongst a nation or amongst a people, you'll see things crumble quicker. But when the equation is right, that group can do no wrong. And even when at their worst, they still is the shit. Even at they worst, they still inventing. They're at the whole world copying them, the whole world following them, even if it's to hell. um, I'm joking on the last part because we're don't take it literal, but I'm saying like even if it's to some lower frequency shit, okay. But this is the power that's embedded within the ancestry. So we say that to say that the equations, we want to work on these equations as a community to get them right. But also that force does come down sometimes if there's an emergency. That force sometimes works through chieftains and prophets, male and female, amongst your community. You have to be able to recognize them. That force does give what will protect you, no matter what, even against all odds. That force can be smothering, just like a smothering mother. You ever you had a kid, and you had your mother say, "Put your coat on." Did you get your coat? Did you got your hat on your head? It's cold outside. Did you put your hat on your head? Did you put your gloves on? Make sure you button up all your shirt. Tuck your shirt in. Make sure are you okay? Did you pack your lunch? Did you got all your lunch? Did you get all your, that smothering is just like, oh my gosh, I'm just trying to get out of here. Like, what in the world? Like, what are you bugging me about now? That entity, even though it's very impersonal and don't care, once you make a covenant with it, and once that, then it becomes like that, unfortunately, because it's a protect. It's like, wow, it's a vested interest at that point. It's a vested interest, and so sometimes, that's why the other people said, no, we're not going to that. We don't want to deal with that, because that entity also, oh, you're not doing it right. It also has a destroyer aspect to it. You don't want to do it right, They can come off mean. That's why they say, oh, that God is mean. That entity is too mean. Because it requires, like, if you came to me. You came to me. You wanted a relationship with me. But you being disloyal and you're abusing me. You're abusing me and it don't feel good. And then you want to use me. But I'm protecting you and telling you what you do, but then you don't listen. So just get the fuck on. Matter of fact, your equations are too fucked up and it's not serving the universe and you're not serving yourself and you're too self-destructive for even yourself. And you're no good to me. So get the fuck out of here. Everybody go. So you have to be careful of that. That force does do that. And it has done it throughout time on multiple planets and multiple systems. So I just want to give you guys that warning. And that go for me. That does go for me. I'm not speaking separately from you guys. I'm saying that go for my ass too. Okay. But I'm going to get up on off of here. I just streams of consciousness. A Nakhti saxon. Nakhti saxon. That's all. So, you guys be easy. Bye.